There are actually very few games that I would consider to be ahead of their time. I guess you could say the original Styles Battlefront, yeah, it's ahead of its time. Black, the first-person shooter, probably ahead of its time. Simpsons Hit and Run, yeah, that's kind of ahead of its time. But in a more niche RPG way, I don't think the original Mount and Blade gets the look in that it really deserves. Releasing in 2008, Tales were just a small indie studio trying to find their way throughout this world of medieval RPGs that had been so covered by MMOs in the past. Recently, I've been going back and playing this older title for a few upcoming projects I'm working on, and in doing so, I witnessed something. I actually started to enjoy them, just as games. Even now, even though we've had Warband and Bannerlord 15 years later. So what is it? What is the indie classic doing that not only still holds up to this day, but especially back in 2008, meant it was way ahead of its time?
Bloodline Heroes of Lithas are proudly sponsoring this video, with incredibly stunning 3D graphics and custom looks, rewarding late game PvP, and a new Bloodline every fortnight with new fantasy characters and unique abilities. This is not one you're gonna want to miss. The game is a hero-based combat title where, well, it is incredibly satisfying, slashing through hordes and hordes of enemy. The main theme, marrying different bloodlines together to create these hybrid heroes. A fantasy world with diverse cultures and races, demigods, demons, elves, and orcs. You can raise your heirs with companions in order to build your own kingdom and economy with its awesome strategic gameplay. It might be on iOS and Android, however it looks like it could be on the greatest consoles of this generation. There are over 1,000 hybrids of the most unique bloodlines to create these fantasy heroes for all of your lineups and matchmaking strategies, depending on who you're coming up against and how you want to win. There are also some hybrid champions through Bloodline Legends by earning points in seasonal guild wars. So if you haven't already, download Bloodline Heroes of Lithas from my description below. It's free on iOS and Android, or scan the QR code on screen. You'll get a special starter pack worth $20 using my link for 1 summoning crystal, 100,000 gold, and 100 diamonds. The first 30 players who leave their in-game account in the comments section will receive a free legendary female orc champion, Ugril, who's one of the best warriors to carry you through the game. So make sure you check out Bloodline Heroes of Lithas today.
Jumping in, don't get me wrong, you can see where it has aged. The UI leaves a lot to be desired, the menu systems don't look quite right on a modern 4K monitor and seems a little bit stretched out. But the basic of Mount and Blade's core and what it became are still there. I think it is a good indicator of something that was either perfect or ahead of its time if when they brought out sequels they kept a lot of it the same. And that core mechanic was still there even to this day in the 2020 release of Bannerlord. It gives you the opportunity to pick characters' backstory, complete customization of the look, and of course in the most YouTuber way possible, I skipped through most of that. I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this game. I spawn into the world and running around with my lads, I recruit as many soldiers as possible. But there's definitely one thing that I noticed from the get-go. The map itself doesn't quite feel the same.
Now, the map itself is way smaller because, as you can see, there's a few factions missing. When I say that, I mean the Saronids. They don't exist yet. Colors are all a little bit wrong. And actually, it should really be that way up. And the Saronids should be down there if we're looking at the Mount and Blade Warband map, but it doesn't quite work that way. Everything's a little bit skew-if.
I love to jump into taverns to discuss the local politics or have a few brews with the tavern wench. Maybe I want to recruit some soldiers for my army, then find a beautiful lady who might have a rough side, who will join the cause if I convince her with a few gold coins. This world in general just feels so alive. Even for the smaller title it is, made by a few people in an indie studio back in the early 2000s. The map continues to move with these little ant colonies of factions all fighting their own wars, all making alliances and enemies that have nothing to do with you, especially as you're so insignificant during the start. Paying attention, you can see how the world is changing, and you get the feeling that whatever's going to happen is inevitable, whether you are in it or not, unless you make the difference, unless you build up your army, your renown, and your strength in order to change the course of history.
Don't mind me, Mr. Nords. You continue your siege. You look like you're having fun. That is a huge army there. Imagine this in 2008, seeing an army of like 230 men just chilling outside a castle, and then seeing 4 of them. That must be an insane feeling. We kind of just take it for granted today how big these games got. But this game was 2008 classic.
But once I grew big enough, I could start to take on more and more men into my army. Then I could find more people in order to kill, and it opened up my death roster. I can now halt caravans. They could give me, and I could buy stuff off them, but no, I want things for free, so I ask for their wares. They refuse, so I take a crossbow to the head of their master and then ask a bit nicer. Hey, look, a lot of velvet and furs. I could sell that. Stumbling across another battle, it was raging on without me. Oh, it's the Vaegirs and the Nords. Well, the Vaegirs don't like me anymore because I might have stolen some stuff from their caravan, so I guess I'm helping the Nords. And this brings me onto the battles themselves. Okay, they are nowhere near the size of Bannerlord, don't get me wrong. But there's still 100 units on the battlefield all at once playing the game out. And for a game in 2008, there isn't all that much that compared to it. You are a part of these battles as well. This is not an overhead look of AI fighting in a simulation like Total War did. And don't get me wrong, Total War was still another game that is way ahead of its time. But you are part of these battles, interacting with each of the units and the agents yourself, fighting, blocking, also whilst ordering around. The AI doing its own thing, having the lords that you are now allied with on your side, giving out orders to their own men while you are distracted trying not to die on your own horseback. Each person is individually interacting with each other with its own AI with 100 men on the battlefield all at once.
Let's go and help our friend and ally. Oh, the big battles are commencing. Right, please, men-at-arms, do not chase yourself in there. Look, this is our little mate. Okay, boys, we are now part of a big army. These are the Nords. We've got to make sure they like us, so do your best to look pretty. And whilst these battles might not have seemed that impressive now, since we've had 1,000-man battles in Bannerlord, you know what? 100 men in 2008 for a tiny indie company is kind of cool. Being able to take your army, move them around, give them basic orders. I mean, that's the UI that we used to have. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. Sometimes. It can sometimes get the job done. Whoa, 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 whoa. That was a good shot. He should probably be promoted. That was probably the guy that killed King Howard, actually. They actually have a very small army. You know what? Man, I think we can take them. Let's go and impress our Nordic friends. Let's try and take these guys out on our own. Because they really only have a few guys, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, they do not have many lads at all. And most of the guys that are spawned in, at least, are archers. So my guys, for now, can probably take them out. That's a probably, by the way. That's not a definite. I'm going to stick with probably and just hope. My man-at-arms for now can annoy him. But we will need our infantry and crossbows to do something. I've got a bigger axe than you. Okay, they've run into the Nord line now. That's going to be good for us. Dog. There's a very barky dog. Don't shoot me, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. You shoot my horse. You shall die for this. And there we have it. We've taken out the Vaegir mans. The Vaegir armies. With our Nordic friends, our new bezies. So whilst we sit comfortably playing our new Bannerlord, it's fun to remember where it came from. From just 100 agents on the battlefield at once all the way to 1,000. Well, I think it still holds up. And trust me, I've got a lot of content coming very soon that revolves around this entire series. So make sure you stick around for that one.